What are some, what are some of the storylines that we are watching, beginning with the money?
Yeah, the big name extensions that still could get done between now and training camp. We've talked a lot about Micah Parsons. TJ Watt, 1 year left on his deal, looking for a new deal. Terry McLaurin in Washington, and of course the Bengals guys. Aiden Hutchinson in Detroit is one to watch. These are deals that, over the next month before training camps open are going to, get some attention from the front offices and the agents, and we'll see how many of them get done before camp starts.
Domonique, it is an annual rite of summer on this show and everywhere else. The Cowboys have a star player they should have signed a long time ago, and it's going to go right down to the final moment. Last year, it literally went to the opening day of the season. What do you think about the Micah Parsons situation?
That maybe they're going to hold it to the opening day again. Like, there's no reason not to sign Micah Parsons. He's arguably the best defensive player in football. He's certainly the best defensive player on that team and maybe the best all-around player on that football team. They need to get him signed as soon as possible, and it gives them a little bit more space. Like, there's no argument not to sign him because it helps their cap out and it secures one of the best football players in football on their team for the foreseeable future. But it's the Cowboys doing Cowboys things as usual.
Nick, I think the
Cowboys continue. I think the Cowboys continue to put themselves in places where we know they have to sign marquee players, and they wait until the last minute. This deal is going to get done, but I feel the longer that it takes, the more money it's going to take for Micah Parsons to sign this extension with the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, look, Micah Parsons may very well be contributing to this. There are a bunch of these guys in this, right, the pass rushers that are waiting for deals, and I guess the last mover is the one who gets the most money. Does it work that way?
Well, it can, but I think Micah's going to be the one that gets the most money, whether he's the first mover or the last mover in this particular equation. Hendrickson and Watt are 30-year-olds looking for third contracts as opposed to a 26-year-old looking for his second contract, and Micah has delivered at a higher level than, say, Aiden Hutchinson. So I think when all is said and done, he'll be the highest-paid defensive player. It's just a matter of what it takes to get there.
Well, let's go to the next Graziano note, because we just finished the NBA Finals in Indianapolis, and I'm fascinated by their quarterback situation.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson telling, I forget the media outlet, I apologize to whoever it is, 24/7 Sports, yesterday that he would be good to go for training camp. He's been dealing with a shoulder injury, but he says he'll be good to go for training camp, which is important for him because he's trying to hold off Daniel Jones and continue to be the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. One of the big issues Richardson has had since entering the league, and frankly before, is consistent health, his inability to stay on the field. That has held him back so far in the NFL, and it's one of the reasons they brought in Daniel Jones. Ironic, because it's not like Daniel's been the picture of health in his career.
That's right. Daniel Jones is another one who's had trouble staying healthy. I don't know, Domonique, why do I feel like and training camp hasn't even started, but why do I feel like if I had to handicap it right now, I would say I feel like there's a better chance Daniel Jones is their week one starter than Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, because the Anthony Richardson saga in Indianapolis hasn't gone smoothly yet. Like, there have been lots of bumps in the road. Despite the fact that he's had some outstanding, amazing plays, he hasn't put together a stretch that would make you believe in him as a quarterback. You don't go get a player like Daniel Jones in order to be just a backup. Not that Daniel Jones is amongst the best players in football, but he's a legitimate starting quarterback, and the injury history for Anthony Richardson is a long one. So I think you're probably right. I think Daniel Jones starts the season at quarterback, but I don't think it's over for Anthony Richardson. He's absolutely going to get another shot there in Indianapolis.
What do you think, RC?
Yeah, that's the difficult part, right? The reason that you go there if you're Daniel Jones is because you believe there's a great opportunity to start. You don't want to be a backup for the rest of your career. So I think he is the day one starter. And if you're Anthony Richardson, you have to do all you can do to not only be in training camp on day one, but to be different in training camp, to move around the building in a different way, to lead in a different way, to show consistency in a different way. And I think he could be in one of those positions where if he's not the starter or doesn't start at some point this year, he can be moved the next year and be fighting to be a backup in this league for years to come.
The fourth pick in the draft and not all that long ago. Last one involves other quarterbacks who obviously have accomplished a lot more.
I am curious when and if Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts are going to sort of make a push for contract extensions, the way Josh Allen got one this offseason with several years left on his deal, just to bring the deal more in line with the top of the market. These are guys that have seen the likes of Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa surpass them in terms of dollars per year, and frankly haven't accomplished as much as Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts have. So Lamar Jackson's cap number in 2026 goes up to almost $75 million. The Ravens have to do something with that contract before next season. I'm curious to see what happens with these two guys and when.
The Ravens are an interesting one. We're going to go more deeply into them later. But, Neek, tell everybody what it is you said to me in the meeting this morning.
Yeah, well, Lamar Jackson, it's not a surprise, but Lamar Jackson is in Super Bowl or bust mode, and that team is in Super Bowl or bust mode. They've been probably the best team in football for a recent stretch. Their point margin is higher than anyone else in the last 7 years. It's every year they are like us nerds. They're our darling pick to win the Super Bowl. It feels like every season they just don't quite get it done. So I think the expectations for Lamar and right now are Super Bowl or bust, and I think this team is in a position with a roster that's good enough to do it, and they expect to do it.
RC?
Well, the other piece is this, not even for the nerds. I know Domonique has 18 degrees. He has like a master's. He has a law degree. For us dummies that went to LSU and only have 1 degree, they've been our favorite too. This is a team that every season in the regular season, they play at such a high level, put themselves in positions to win championships and just fall short in the playoffs. This is absolutely a Super Bowl or a bust year. And that extension that Dan Graziano is talking about, if Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens hoist the Lombardi at the end of the season, I think it'll be history-breaking and history-setting when he gets that new deal.
I've missed these guys. We got to get I am one who votes for RC and Domonique together as much as we can do it. We have missed this dynamic. Let's answer the question. Graz answered that one. Let's answer a few others with Domonique Foxworth. Neek, here we go. Ready for not? Here we come. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have won the AFC West the last 9 consecutive years. Will they win it again this season?
I mean, I think I'm more concerned about them losing it than I've been in the past, but I still got to stick with them. I picked against them to win the Super Bowl, but I don't think the fall is going to be that steep. They do have a much more competitive division right now with the Chargers on the rise, and that defense in Denver is outstanding. If Bo Nix improves, it'll be tough, but I think I'm going to still stick with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes for now.
So that streak would stay alive. Let's talk about another one in Pittsburgh. Will Mike Tomlin have his first losing season in 19 years?
Absolutely not. There's no reason to believe that that particular streak is going to end now, particularly because we're showing Aaron Rodgers. I understand that he's not the Aaron Rodgers of old, but he certainly is an improvement on quarterback, that a much better quarterback than they've had since a healthy Ben Roethlisberger, and they've managed to be competitive without that type of play. He can reach a higher ceiling as long as they don't ask him to do nearly as much as the Jets wanted him to do. So I think this team gets above 500 once again.
I definitely agree with that one. And then let's stay in that division. I think this is a really interesting question. I'm going to want to bring everyone in after you answer it, Neek. You know, we talk about Josh Allen needs to get to a Super Bowl. We talk about Lamar Jackson needs to get to a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow is considered on a level with those guys. What would constitute success for Burrow's Bengals this year?
Yeah, Joe Burrow's been to the Super Bowl, but I think he's getting really close to that Super Bowl or bust, like you have to win it situation for Joe Burrow, particularly because of how this offseason has gone. It's been pretty unique in that Joe Burrow made sure to keep both of his really high-profile receivers. You don't do that, and you don't make those type of roster decisions unless it's because you think that you have a championship caliber team. And given how great he was in the regular season last year, yeah, the conversation around him, no matter whether we can blame the defense or not, the conversation around Joe Burrow is the same way it is around the rest of the elite quarterbacks in the league. You got to win the big one.
Yeah, see, it's such an interesting one to me. RC, let me get your take on that, because Hembo and I did an essay a few weeks ago, which we pointed out. Joe Burrow didn't have a good year last year. He had one of the great seasons in NFL history, and it was completely wasted by a defense that was unimaginably bad. And so now we're going to sit here and say Burrow needs to get to the Super Bowl in order to validate how good he is. What are the right things to say about Burrow this year?
That is not true. It's not about validating how good he is, and that's not how I took what Domonique said. It's because he is that good. It's because we know how talented Joe Burrow is. We know how surgical Joe Burrow is. And he also manipulated this offseason to keep both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the team and get them both paid. So you have to deliver. When you have that sort of control, it has to end up in team success. And Joe Burrow is not questioned to me like a Lamar Jackson or like a Josh Allen because we've seen him beat Patrick Mahomes. We've seen him in the Super Bowl. We just need to see it again.
What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, agree. And look, I think what you're talking about here is the way team success can help stamp a great career. And if Joe Burrow's on his way to the career it looks like he's going to have, then it's an important element. When Dan Marino retired, he had all the records, but he doesn't have them anymore. And no matter what record you set, someone's going to come along and break it. But if you win that championship, then that they can't take from you. So I think if you're Joe Burrow, if you're Lamar Jackson, if you're Josh, I mean, that's the whole point, right? Like, you need to be able to say, I did that. You do not want to be the answer to the question, who's the best player you ever saw that never won the championship?
That's exactly right. Of all these guys coming along.
Greeny.
Yeah.
Greeny, we have this conversation in basketball all the time. The AFC is what NBA used to be with Michael Jordan because of Patrick Mahomes, because of Andy Reid, right? How many guys are we going to be sitting and be like, you're like Patrick Ewing, you're like Reggie Miller, you're like Charles Barkley? That's what we're seeing with these quarterbacks. If you ask somebody, give me the top 5 quarterbacks in the world right now, 4 of them are going to come from the AFC. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. It's about which one of them becomes the first guy to win a Super Bowl. They're all in the same spot. But to me, Joe Burrow has the least amount of questions about his ability to do it.
What do you think, Nick?
Patrick Mahomes does play baseball. We got to figure out how we can get him to play a couple seasons in the minor leagues so we can get these Super Bowls somewhere else. Get Hakeem in there.
To give other guys a chance. No. Look, we made this analogy last year. And the players I used were Karl Malone, Patrick Ewing, and Charles Barkley. In any order you want to put them, they're 3 of the greatest players ever. They were 3 first-ballot Hall of Famers. And all 3 of them have in common the misfortune of having had their primes at the same time as Michael Jordan. So none of them won a championship. The one guy who did was Olajuwon. He got his 2 during that period, whereas Domonique points out, Michael went off to play baseball. That's probably not going to happen here with Mahomes. So, RC, which one of these guys do you have your money on? Which one of these guys is finally going to be the first AFC quarterback to win that Super Bowl?
You know what? To me, it has to be Josh Allen. I just feel like I've seen Josh Allen in the biggest moments show up. You can go back to that 4th down last year when he's fading away. He gave Dalton Kincaid an opportunity to catch that ball. We watched him in a divisional round a few years back get beat because Tyreek Hill beats a cornerback inside and 2-man on a dig and gets off to the races. There's been so many opportunities where I've looked at Josh Allen and said, you know what? You've done enough. I also believe that his team is good enough. Now, they're going to need some wide receivers to step up and make some plays and win some one-on-ones. But after watching the way that this offense has changed under Joe Brady, I believe that they have a chance to do it.